And much like the blackberries, I did some pruning on my grapevines. So out here on the back row of my fence, I've got this trellis that I built, cantilevers off the back of the fence, and I've got at each cantilevered post, I've got a different variety of grapes. So first year I moved in, I built this trellis and I planted just one grapevine. This was a Concord grape. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I've never grown grapes before. I just wanted to try my hand at it and see what happened. I had these grandiose ideas of maybe someday having, making my own wine or something, which I've made a video in the past, I think, about my mead. I've made some honey wine. I have yet to make a fruit wine. In year one, I planted this one. And in year one, with this vine, it grew up here and it was all tangled up on this end. And it started to grow down the trellis supports, but not a whole lot. But what I did with it was I did what's called air layering on the grapevine. And I didn't know if it would work or not, but I just gave it a shot. I had a guy tell me how to do it with blackberries, I think, and maybe even with some hardwoods you can do it, or some deciduous trees you can do it. What I did was I took a flower pot and I hung it right here on this post. And I took this part of the vine and I just bent it in a gradual U shape. Not a sharp U. You don't want to break the vine, you just want to bend it. And then I buried it in the flower pot. And so it was an actively growing vine. I just buried it up and I left it for a couple months. If I thought about it, I came out and watered it. If I didn't, I didn't. I just relied on the rain, But what actually happened was after a couple of months, it actually did put roots into that pot. And of course, once it did, just like with blackberries, I went through and I cut it loose and I had a freestanding grapevine. So, that was a long process and I got a whole one grapevine out of it. But it survived. I took it down here once it was good and dormant and I planted it right here. And the next year it grew up and it's up onto this end of the trellis and it grows down the trellis here. So that was in year 2 that this one started growing. And I also went through and I planted up a different variety on each post. That one there. And again, I don't remember. I've got flame seedless out here. I've got Concords. I've got I think a white grape of some sort. So these all grew pretty good. The one that I had here was really struggling. And enough to the point that one of my buddies came over and was helping me clean the yard, and he didn't realize that it was actually a plant, and he hacked it off with the weed eater. And it kind of started to grow back, but not real good. So eventually it died off, and I went ahead excuse me, I went ahead and replanted it. And I think I replanted it with a flame seedless, and you can see, you're looking at it now. Get down here close so you guys can actually see it. Looking at it now, there's not a whole lot to it, but it does look like it did some growing. I don't know if there's anything here. I'm not going to try to break it to see if it's got any green on it, but I'm hoping it swells out and flushes out this spring. And if it does, I'll go ahead and train it up. Not at the post, but I'll go ahead and train it up so it's up here on the trellis and get up with the rest of them. But what I wanted to make the video about was the pruning of the grapes, how I did it. And I got my education off of YouTube. So what I looked at was, you want to prune back any dead wood, which is usually pretty easy to see, pretty easy to find. I mean, I think I pruned it all out, so I can't really show you guys a piece, but you want to prune out any dead wood, anything that appears diseased, and then you want to prune back that year's growth. So, it's January 2014, so I wanted to prune back the growth from 2013, the new growth. And I pruned it all back to where you have just 2 to 3 nodes per branch. And what that does is you take off a lot of volume from the plant, but it lets the plant focus its energy on what buds are left. And so you'll get maybe less grapes, but I think you could just as easily argue that you'll get just as many grapes, and you'll get a higher quality grape because the plant is not putting as much energy into supporting its vegetative areas. It can put the energy into the fruit, and that's really what you want to look for. At the end of the day, you'd be better off to have less grapes of a higher quality than more grapes of a bad quality. You don't want the plant to be stressed out to where it can't support what it's doing. So anyway, I just went through all of this, and you can kind of add it up if you look. Okay, this plant is now See, I planted it in 2011, and it's January 2014. So in 2011, it grew up, and it grew on to this cane here. And I think it put this cane over to about here, and that was it. So then in 2012, it pushed out from there. In 2013, it pushed out from there. In 2013, a lot of what I got was the side shoots. I mean, I really can't tell, to be honest with you, looking at it anymore, but it's kind of hard to explain, I guess, on video. It's easier when you got it right there in front of you and you can see it, but you can very easily tell in a given year what is the new growth from that year. I mean, I could tell looking at this one, all these little side shoots here were all new growth from this year. So, you know, like I said, you just go through, again, get the year old or that year's growth, and that's what you want to prune back. Anything beyond that, it's not going to set fruit, I don't believe. So off of, you know, the second year stuff, third year stuff, it's not going to set fruit, but that's your main stem. Okay, so I don't want to go in here and cut out this cane or this vine that's 2 years old, because it is, you know, it's like the trunk of a tree, and every year it's going to push new little growth off of the, you know, off these buds. So what I could do if I really want to is, okay, this was 2013 growth. 2014, this is going to set fruit now, and when it's going to set fruit, and also off of this main cane or more main vine, it's going to push off more laterals that'll fruit in 2015. So if I wanted to, I could go through and I could actually cut out this one entirely once it fruits in 2014, or I can leave it, because what it'll probably do is it'll probably actually push little canes, or little vines. I keep saying canes because I was just talking about blackberries. It'll probably actually push little vines itself. And those little vines that it pushes out, that'll be 2012 growth and not fruit, those will be, or sorry, 2014 growth, those will be 2015 fruit. So, you know, by the time you get to year 3 or 4 with something like this, you've got a lot of opportunities on how you want to prune, how you want to shape the plant, and that's really where it becomes fun. So I encourage you guys to get out if you got some, you know, a little bit, you got some grapes going on or some blackberries or some fruit trees, you know, don't be scared to prune them. It is good for the plant. A lot of places I recommend you prune out half to 3/4 or half to 2/3. I've never heard 3/4 of them, but half to 2/3 of the growth actually that you can prune back, and you're not going to hurt the plant one bit. So, you know, just get out there and do it. This is actually the first time I've gone through and pruned my grapes. So starting in 2011 with the first vine, I hadn't pruned it until now, and I really needed to because it was an absolute mess. I actually just walked there and I got kind of I got a little frustrated. But with what I pruned out, much like the blackberries, I took cuttings, and I just want to show those to you guys right now. Nothing fancy, and I don't know if it's going to work. I'm just doing what I've seen others do. They've said it works. The books say it works. Apparently I don't know how to latch my back gate though. Oh goodness, I can't even latch a gate. Yeah, whatever, I'll cheat it. And I'll just show you guys those cuttings real quick. Like I said, I don't know if it'll work. I sure hope it does, because if it does, you know, again, I'll have me a lot of grapevines. But we'll just show them to you in here. I've got the grapevines. Here is some, and this pot is some, and this pot. So I've got probably 30 or 40 grapevines. And then, you know, in the blackberry video, I talked about the blackberries I've got this pot full of blackberries. Those 3 pots over there are all full of blackberry cuttings, and they're planted a lot denser than the grapes even are. Excuse me. And I've got a 4th pot that size in the house full of, you know, probably 15 more cuttings. So again, if all those root, I'll be doing pretty good. I'll have a lot. So again, the reason I wanted to share that with you about, you know, taking the grape cuttings and taking the blackberry cuttings is you need to prune regardless. So if you can find a way to salvage what you're pruning off and plant it to make more plants, you're just that much better off. If you can't, it's no big deal. Pitch it on your compost or burn it, whatever. But, you know, just try to think about the ways that you can keep from wasting. So like I said, just a little bit about pruning the grapes. Hope y'all like it. If you got questions, let me know. I am no master gardener. I am no vineyard owner. I'm just trying to share what I've learned, what I know, and hopefully help somebody else learn how to do it too.